Listening to Michael Mania, where we are audacious, sagacious, and tenacious for the Lord to uphold godly marriages and raise fervent children to be countercultural and stand for biblical truth.
Welcome to Michael Mania. Thank you for joining us today. We're so excited to have you. Today, we're going to talk about how siblings reconnect through a loss. It's been a different situation for us, but that's what we're going to get into today. I'm Tania.
And I'm Jose.
My brother. And so he's our special guest today. So before we get into that, please subscribe to us right here. And let's get started. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we basically reconnected. Last year in 2022, our father passed away, and it was really a difficult situation. I had to fly into Texas, and I really didn't know the people that I was going to go visit, but I was really excited to be able to connect with family and connect with people that I have not seen or maybe I've talked to on the phone. It was a really sad situation watching our father pass away right before us. But, you know, one of the things that was amazing to me was through the loss. For me, I felt that God really helped us to be able to connect with each other. And what was really neat too is in those moments, those last moments, which were just very devastating to me because I've never experienced anything like that before in my life. And the first person that I went to in the room was filled with many people. And there was a lot happening. It was a lot of kind of confusion on my part. There was a lot of things that I was trying to kind of reconcile in my own heart. And I did go into detail a lot about this, about my father and my relationship with him in a previous podcast, so you can check that out. But in that last moment, the first thing that I did was I ran straight to my brother, Jose, which, you know, we didn't really talk. We didn't really know each other that well. His wife was there, and it just felt very comfortable to me. It felt like there was a connection there. It felt that, you know, he could understand what I was going through. We were both going through it together. Our other siblings were there, but it seemed like this was the opportunity for us to kind of come together. And even like the day before, we were having a little bit of conversation, just trying to talk through things, trying to get to know each other. But like that last moment, it just seemed really, I don't know, like it connected. What do you think? How do you think that you felt at that moment? Because it was hard.
Well, I mean, there was definitely a lot of, you know, like you said, confusion. There was just so much going on, and it happened so fast. Mm-hmm. You know, you got the news, I got the news, and it just mm-hmm. you know, from one day to another, you know, we just both, you know, like what happened, you know, and there was so much emotion, and there was a lot of, I guess, tension and conflict already within our family, mm-hmm. and that's one of the main reasons why we kept apart for so long. We
like
never
40 years, right?
Yes,
probably a little bit more than that, right?
It was longer than that. I mean, we did communicate. What was it back in
2010, something like that? I don't know, something around there.
It was at least 11, 12 years ago. Let's just say that.
Yeah. And
I remember, you know, speaking. You know, we spoke briefly, but there was really no connection. You know, there was no real connection. You know, everybody pretty much lived their lives mm-hmm. at the time, and nothing was really going on that really brought us together until the unfortunate passing of our father. And that was actually my first time ever seeing you in person, right? I mean, that was our first time seeing each other in person, and you know, there was so much going through our minds or our head that, you know, we were trying to, I guess, absorb and trying to comprehend everything that was going on. So, I mean, not much could have been said at the time because our main focus, of course, was on our father and, his status at the time, because of course he didn't pass away immediately. He was in a coma for a few days before the family decided to let him go. But there certainly was a lot of tension, a lot of emotions at the time, but it's brought us, it's brought my sister and I together, closer, and we've had a really good bond, a really good relationship. And through the loss of our father, it did bring us closer together, and we've been able to maintain a steady, healthy, brother and sister relationship that we never had, for 40 plus years.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like, it's been so long, and I've been like a single child my entire life. So to be able to reconnect with a family member through a loss of my father, I mean, this to me I was overjoyed. I couldn't even believe that I was having a conversation with my brother. I couldn't believe that we were just connecting and talking about all kinds of things that I didn't even know about my father, about my family, on his side. So to me, it was bringing in a lot of healing, a lot of things that I was angry or upset for back in the past, just things I didn't know. And to me, I felt like, talking to my brother Jose, I can actually like understand like why certain things happened, or maybe we were seeing the same things, growing up. But to me, it was very interesting to be able to connect after that loss. And then it was just very consistent. It was a persistent relationship between one another of, contacting each other through text, talking on the phone. I mean, he's visiting with me now. So it's been great. Understanding where I come from, understanding where he comes from, and just different things that we're learning about each other. And it's just really interesting to me how all that just connected. And like you were saying, it has brought a stronger bond between us, so we can kind of talk about things. I mean, there's things I say to you that you don't feel offended by, and I don't feel offended by. And I think vice versa. It's just learning how we grew up. Like, we always talk about how I say I've been Americanized, and we laugh about that a lot. But, you were raised in the culture, Hispanic culture, and on my end, I was not. So there's a lot of differences that we're learning about each other and just trying to catch up. It's kind of hard to make up 40 some years of life. I mean, that's just impossible to do, but it feels like so natural to continue this process, even to this day, and, I think it was really impactful to the family. Like, I was able to connect with my sister-in-law and, your niece, and just understanding like my nephews, and just knowing a little bit about everybody. And also just the dynamics, like you were saying, the dynamics of, dad and, that side of the family. So that just makes it, interesting to be able to learn. So I guess, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and we've talked about this before, so it's not like a big secret, but like how you felt about me and your thoughts even before you knew me, because I think that there was a misinterpretation, or maybe a different type of view that was made of me that maybe kind of gave you a different mindset. And I just kind of want to know a little bit about that, and then like kind of compare what you learned about me before you knew me, and then like what you've learned about me now as we've connected, and like how all that plays out.
Well, I think one of the main things that I guess you didn't mention after the passing of our father, that brought us closer together also was a lot of closure. I believe there was a lot of closure.
Yes.
Because there was a lot of things that I discovered about my family, and of course, Tania discovered a whole lot of things that she didn't, she never knew about, and it kind of answered answered questions that we had here and there of why things happened the way they did, and I believe it's, once those questions were answered, I was able to understand more where she was coming from, the things that she would tell me, and how her life has been, being an only child, and there's things that were said among family members in the past, and including things that our father said to us and told the rest of the family in regards to Tania, and it's just there was never any like clarifying. It was everybody just kind of rolled with oh well, that if he said it, then it must be true, and and that's just never a really, it's not a good route to take. There's always, I'm the type of person where I like to give somebody the benefit of the doubt, and I like to sit there and talk and learn what exactly happened. What I don't like to just be a judge and just go from there. I like to get your perspective. What is it that happened? What is it that you've been going through? And of course I want that person to listen to me. And then hopefully that person has a good understanding of where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's how we should do it. We shouldn't just take other people's perspectives when we're trying to learn or get to know someone. I think it can diminish someone's character, or it gives you that wrong perception because you don't know that person's heart. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what they've experienced. So it's really good, I think, to really understand and take time to know what that person went through in order to kind of put that puzzle together. And, there's been a lot of things, and I will to this day, I respect my parents. I respect my dad. And so, I care about him. I didn't grow up with him, but, a lot of things that were there, I guess, that were misinterpreted because we were kind of a broken family, it really kind of hurt, a opportunity to get to know you when I was a young kid. And maybe that would have been different to know you when I was, a little child, and kind of grow up in that, grow up together, like I would say, not normal siblings, but people that, their families are together. So I totally see what you're saying around like having your own view, taking your own time to recognize and to get to know someone. And I'm thankful for that. Actually, I'm really thankful that you were able to do that and take the time and not just listen to what somebody else may say, but actually take the time to get to know me, ask me. It's like that pursuing back and forth, pursuing and asking questions and knowing, how that impacts, because it impacts the family. It impacts, my family, my husband, my child. It impacts your wife, your children. So it impacts us together if we're not, taking that time to learn each other and to understand where we came from and what each other's perspectives were.
I totally agree.
All right, we talked a little bit about, that perspective that you may have had, but what about like catching up? Like, we can't catch up 40 years worth of time. I mean, that's just a lot. So what about this past year? Like, how's it been for you catching up after all this time and just, talking? And, I feel bad because sometimes I'm super busy trying to get a lot of things done, but I want to make time and I want to be able to catch up. So what do you think about that? Like, after all these years?
Well, I mean, of course, like you said, it's impossible to, make up 40 plus years, and just
don't give away my years
in one year. because there's just so much information, just so much, so much there to digest, to comprehend, to learn. So of course it's impossible. But I mean, I can honestly say this past year, I felt a lot of relief. I do feel better now that I've reconnected with my sister, because of course I do have I have two other sisters. I have a younger brother, and with us, it's just we've never really had that type of connection. Even though we've lived practically in the same same area, but there was just never that connection there. So I pretty much felt, and I've told this to Tanya, I felt like also I was an only child growing up, because it's just like, the connection between my sisters and I was pretty much, non-existent, and then, of course my mother was always, more focused in raising, my two younger sisters. So it's like I was pretty much, having to do things, like figure things out on my own. And of course, our dad had, remarried and started a new family. So there was a lot for me to learn on my own as a teenager, as growing up, and then, reaching adulthood. So it was a lot. I do feel like I was an only child, just learning everything on my own, and that's just one of the things that I've talked to Tanya about. We have that. I guess we can say we can have that in common.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I think that's for sure we have that in common. And I have not really connected with everybody, but it seems like the connection has been like between us. And, it does, like I said earlier, it impacts the family. I mean, you have a brother-in-law, I have a sister-in-law, and my daughter has an aunt and an uncle. So, I mean, it's really amazing how that happened, but it's also sad because it happened through a tragedy and a loss. And so to me, I'm like, there are good things that happen even through loss. And, I've been trying to keep my head up for the last year, just knowing that there's hope and knowing that, a lot of things do happen, but they're good things that happen and things that we can celebrate by having, family members coming together and just learning each other and having more of a family, because it's so important to me that family is together. I love my family. I love my husband. I love my child. I love my aunt, my uncles, everyone. And, even my brother, like, we're connecting and it's great. And, I want to be able to have that, the unity of family. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I agree totally with what you're saying. I mean, it's brought us closer to each other. I have not met, your other family members, from your mother's side, of course. But, I do know that they exist, and, they, it's like we little by little, we're learning, I guess more and more, like relatives that we have. And we've even connected with our cousins over there in El Salvador.
Yeah.
One of our cousins, we did was it a video chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a video chat, and we learned a lot of the things that I didn't even know about. We both were asking questions, and she started answering questions and answering pretty much everything that we needed to know about, our father's past. Mm-hmm. And like I said, that's brought us closer together, even more so. And I believe that's, little by little, we're gonna get it done. I believe someday, Tanya will be able to, reach out to our other sisters and our brother, because right now it's just, like you said, just the two of us.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And, one thing I've been thinking about lately, like as we were preparing for this podcast, I was thinking around, like, there's probably a lot of people out there right now that maybe have not connected with the sibling, or like even through a loss, or maybe there's anger, or maybe there's like just a brokenness, or maybe someone got sent to a foster care and then you find your sibling. I feel like it's one of the most important things to do is to really connect back with that family member if you have the opportunity. And also if there is a lot of anger or frustration in someone's heart, I feel like there's an opportunity to really forgive and come together and get to know your sibling, get to know them. It might be difficult. I don't know. It might take time. It might take years, but I feel like if we take the time to do that, if we take the time to learn their perspectives, to take the time to talk with them or reach out to them, I feel like you can have that connection with your sibling. I mean, if you grew up with them or if you didn't grow up with them, like we didn't grow up together. I mean, I'm not saying like it's super easy, but for us, it felt like it was easier. And I think through the loss, that's where that connection came, because we had a major impact at that moment that we were both experiencing at the same time, which, no one wants to lose a parent. And that's a very hurtful situation. So both siblings experience heartache. And so through that heartache, they're able to talk to one another and share what's going on in their hearts and minds. So to me, I think the biggest takeaway is to really take that time to get to know that sibling or that lost sibling if you have reconnected, or if you've been thinking about reconnecting with a sibling, to step out and do it, because there's no time than today to do it. To me, it's the most important thing, just rekindling, bringing family together, because that's really all you have is your family. You have family. Yes, you have other close friends, family that are in the Christian faith, that are in Christ, but also you've got your family that your parents, came together and had children with together. And so to me, I feel like that's important to do.
This is pretty much, I already have had a sort of experience, with what Tania's talking about. When you lose somebody in your family and it brings others closer, it happened exactly 20 years ago with my grandmother, and it brought a lot of family members together, so this isn't the first time that I've experienced this. Before it was with my cousins, and cousins that I never had any kind of connection with, and a couple of them are like sisters to me. We are really, really close. So like I said, this is the second time that something like this happens to me, and of course we never like for anything like this to happen, but unfortunately, this is part of life, and then sometimes, it takes a tragedy like this, of this type of magnitude, to start something new, something that maybe wasn't there before, or maybe there was conflict, or there was tension going on, and maybe by something like this happening, it just brings a lot of closure, and then, a lot of forgiveness, and, and it wipes out a lot of the, I guess, past anger or resentment that was there before, And like I said, this is my second time, and, I'm just glad that, I have this type of relationship now with Tania.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. And to me, like I said, it's all about forgiveness and really stepping out. Sometimes we have to step above and do things that we may be uncomfortable to do, and just kind of step out and just be prayerful about it, and just trust that God will help us reconnect and help us get connected with those siblings, and just really look our hearts to be forgiving, because I think that really goes a long way. So I'm so thankful that we had this opportunity to really talk about, just our experience, and just, even though it's a little brief story here, it's still really impactful. And so I just hope that it impacts many people that listen to this. And hopefully, if you have a sibling that you haven't connected with, that you will make that step. Or if you have a sibling that you just connected with, keep going, keep trying, keep connecting, keep calling, keep texting, keep doing video chats. Just try, visit each other. I believe that there will be that opportunity where you become very close, and we're just really happy to be able to share everything here. So we thank you for joining us, and thank you so much. Until next time.